Hello and welcome back to the Royal League, the two-player tournament where I sadly started with 2 losses so far, so hopefully things will be getting better. However, before we are going to take a look at the first game, there are 2 small announcements that I want to make. The first one is that I actually started a little bit of a side project because a good friend of mine and I recently started to play a lot of Mindbug. If you don't know Mindbug, it's a Duel Link card game that just recently got an app implementation, so it's possible to play online, and we did it a lot and enjoyed it a lot and enjoy talking about the game, and so we actually decided to start a little YouTube channel together. So if you are interested in the game Mindbug or maybe just want to learn something about it, then definitely check out our channel. I will put a link into the description of the video. If you're not interested in Mindbug, then don't worry, I will also just normally continue posting videos on this channel, so you won't be missing out on anything. However, there's maybe one small reason for you why it could still be interesting to take a quick look at the channel, because we actually decided to do our videos with camera. So if you ever wondered how this Weidenbaum guy is looking like, then now you have the chance to check it out. And the second announcement is that there is the first vote on Patreon. So all of you who have supported me there, don't forget to vote for what you want to see in the next month, and for all the others, be excited for what video will be coming, because I think I hopefully have chosen 3 potentially interesting options, and those were the 2 announcements, and now we will start taking a look at the next game. It will be a game against Gutemetralla, who I think I didn't play before yet. And he started with a loss and a tie so far. I think the tie was against Martin Pêcheur, so not an ideal start. With that, it could maybe be an especially important game, because with my not so great start, I have now probably be mainly concerned about not getting relegated, and a win against Gutemetralla could be very important to achieve that goal. Alright, and now without further ado, we are going to take a look at the game. In this game I'm playing the second position, and first of all we can take a look at the leaders and wonders. And we can see that there is not the most culture synergy there, but still a little bit. There is Fleming in H3, but no Chaplin, Marlene Dietrich. There's Anthony Gaudi and Charles Darwin in H2. There is no internet, no Hollywood, so it could also be a little bit of a more economical focused game. Then we have some lab leaders with Steve Jobs, Marie Curie, Sid Meier. We have Churchill. We also have Pierre, who of course is somewhat relevant. Then we have the Red Cross there, also Manhattan Project, Spaceflight. We have some strong H2 wonders with the Railroad, the Ocean Liner Service, and the Harvard College. 2 military action leaders with Catherine and Robespierre. There's Maria Theresa together with the Ocean Liner Service. Also the Watt, who is maybe not that strong in 2-player games. Then we have 2 military action leaders as well in H1 with Joan of Arc and Jan Žižka. There's Barbarossa, there's Isabella, Michelangelo, who is there together with Machu Picchu and St. Peter's Basilica, which could be interesting. And and there are the 2 science wonders, Universitas and Silk Road, and then the mentioned Machu Picchu and St. Peter's Basilica. Gutemetralla is in first position, and he just makes the decision to go for Hippocrates, meaning that if I want to, can just wait for a leader for the next turn. There are the Roman roads in the row, but there are also some interesting wonders in the deck with the Acropolis and the Library of Alexandria. Maybe both of those wonders are in 2-player games stronger than the Roman roads potentially, but I don't know if those are revealed and how much I have to pay for them, and the Roman roads can maybe still be fine. It's a bit annoying because the only leader that will be available for me at the next turn is Aristotle, who is maybe not the greatest synergy with the Roman roads on one hand. On the other hand, still getting some additional science I think can still be very valuable, so I think it is a somewhat fine combination. I can take the Roman roads now together with the yellow card, and Gutemetralla at the next turn can't take any wonder. Of course, he might get the Acropolis, he might get the Library, but maybe the Acropolis is not as strong as in other games where there's even more culture synergy in the game, and so I think that is not too bad to just take the Roman roads here and the frugality with the plan of going for Aristotle at the next turn, because there's probably no leader that I'm willing to pay an additional civil action for, no Hammurabi or anything, so the plan was to go for Aristotle now. Now it's Gutemetralla's turn, and he will go for Hippocrates, builds a mine, increases his population, takes the urban growth, lets the engineering genius stay on 2 civil actions for me, guarantees that the Acropolis will be available for 1 civil action for him, so I think taking the urban growth was quite strong. and then it's my turn, and I will go for Aristotle. There is now also Homer available as an option, but I think Homer in 2-player games is just not as great, because in contrast to 3 and 4-player games, where a lot of military build is built anyway, and you can maybe sometimes just get 2 or 3 additional resources out of him. In 2-player games, it can sometimes just happen that there's not any military build in H1, and then Homer is just not giving that much, and maybe also it's more important to have more free civil actions in 2-player games, to have the option to take important cards from the 2 civil action area and maybe deny some stuff. So I think Aristotle is just the better choice here. Here I will go for him, build a mine, and then increase my population. Sadly, that means that the Acropolis and the Engineering Genius will be available for Gutemetralla, but the good news is that if he wants to take both of those cards and the iron, it would mean delaying his lab, and that is somewhat fine for me, I would say, but still, of course, quite strong for him to have the option to take all of those cards. Maybe it could even be fine to just pass on the Engineering Genius and rather get the science going as quickly as possible, but at the end, Gutemetralla makes the decision to just take all of those cards, which is probably also fine. At least with taking the Acropolis and the iron, it will be that the irrigation will fall down to 1 civil action for me, meaning I can pick it, score 1 science with Aristotle, and then the question is what else to do. And I think I like it quite a bit to take the monarchy here, because I think in 2-player games there are not that many ways to get more civil actions, so it sometimes can happen that you will be stuck on 4 civil actions relatively easily. So now just taking the monarchy, making sure that I have a way to get an additional civil action very quickly, score another science with Aristotle. With that, hopefully it won't take too long to be able to go for the monarchy, and also I take it away from Gutemetralla, who has the Acropolis and now either has to commit to the theocracy or just has to wait for an H2 government in order to make use out of the discount from the Acropolis. So I take the irrigation and the monarchy, and then with my last civil action I will just build my second lab, accumulating the science as quickly as possible so that I then can go for the monarchy. I don't have a free population, but that's maybe not too bad, and then I maybe can soon finish the Rome roads, probably not next turn unless I get some additional resources, but I can maybe just start working on it, or if there are some additional resources revealed, then of course I can even just finish it. Sadly, it means that Shishka falls down to 1 civil action for Gutemetralla, which I didn't like too much, because he has Hippocrates. Getting a new replacement leader for 1 civil action now I think is quite strong for him. But I also didn't want to do anything about it. I wanted to have the irrigation, I wanted to have the monarchy, and so at the end was fine with it. At least the Engineering Genius will now be gone for him, and so he will go for Jan Žižka, will elect him, won't collect the 3rd token from Hippocrates, plays the Legion tactic going up to 3 strength, builds the second lab, and then just finishes the Acropolis, gets out of corruption like this, is at 4 strength, and is starting to produce a little bit of culture. Now it is my turn. I don't want to seed yet, and I will, as you can see, go for the alchemy here. I could just start building some steps on the Rome roads, or maybe then increasing my population. However, I thought that maybe instead of just starting to build the Rome roads, I can even increase my economy this turn with going for the alchemy, already increasing my science production. There is also Leonardo in the game, so I am opening up another nice leader option for myself, and then I just start increasing my science production immediately, which again makes it maybe even nicer to go for the monarchy. Maybe with now increasing my science production already, I can go for the monarchy and still also for the Code of Laws on top of it if I get a chance to take it, and so I think that is quite nice. And the good news is also that if I go for the alchemy, I can get out of corruption with 1 civil action being left for me, meaning with that civil action I have not the chance to take the Engineering Genius. I'm still not in consumption, and with the Engineering Genius I potentially even have the option to just finish the Rome roads at the next turn if I want to. Of course, I'm using the Engineering Genius only for 2 civil resources then, but I think it's fine because the Rome roads finishing that quicker basically gives me back the resource that I'm missing out on. So I think the Engineering Genius is just very helpful, maybe allowing me to finish the Rome roads quicker. Alternatively, I can also go for another upgrade at the next turn, then I'm still guaranteed to finish the Rome roads in 2 turns thanks to the Engineering Genius. So I think it's a very flexible card, or gives me a bit of flexibility and allows me to accelerate building up my economy, and with that I think that was quite a fine turn for me. I draw the foray in the inhabited territory. Thanks to my defense cards, I'm not in danger of getting hit by an aggression from Gutemetralla, who just went up to 4 strength. He will start going for the iron now. I let the Silk Road and Universitas both stay on 2. which of course means that he could potentially just start going for the iron and then for the Universitas at the next turn. I thought if maybe I want to let him have the Silk Road now for 1 and let Universitas stay on 2, because now it's not that easy for him to pick up a wonder, but maybe the next turn he will be. However, it might still take a little while until he can finish the Universitas, and there are some strong H2 wonders which potentially he might block himself from, so at the end I didn't want to make a slightly weaker turn, for example with taking the Cultural Heritage instead of the Engineering Genius, just to make it that the Universitas can't at the next turn that easily be taken by Gutemetralla. You will then also take a copy of Printing Press. There's maybe missing Shakespeare. Shakespeare's missing for some really big synergy, but there's still Darwin and Gaudi, and the ability to produce some culture could be quite nice. Also, together with the Acropolis, building some of those will make the discount for the government farm even bigger. So I think it makes sense to pick up a Printing Press. Now it's my turn, and at my turn I will actually start pushing the event deck, because as you can see I have 2 colonies in hand, and on the row there is the cartography. And even though there's no Suez Canal in the game, with having some additional science, with scoring 1 science, with Aristotle when taking the cartography, I thought that it actually can be quite nice to just see those 2 colonies into the deck. With the 3rd military action from the monarchy, hopefully I will also maybe draw some more colonization cards, with that hopefully win both colonies, and I think that could still be quite nice, winning those colonies hopefully relatively cheaply. So I thought it's a nice opportunity to start seeding, get a bit of knowledge about the event deck, and be nicely prepared for those colonies with going for the cartography. I was very happy to see the development of science here, because that means that I actually already this turn can go for the monarchy, get an additional civil action going, and then now with the plan of going for the cartography, I of course don't want to just finish the Roman roads, and instead I increase my population, go for 1 upgrade that gets me out of corruption, and then I will take the cartography and just increase my population again. At the next turn I can develop the cartography, and then I'm definitely in time before any colonies will be revealed. And so I think that is quite nice. With all of those wonders gone, there will be no H1 wonder left. So Michelangelo, who I thought maybe could be interesting if I get him together with St. Peter's Basilica and then maybe go for a strong H2 wonder, will not be an option. But with having those alchemies, Leonardo is still a nice option. Maybe Isabella as well, with those colonies being seeded. Joan of Arc will now also be discarded before my next turn. I will now start drawing 3 cards even. I draw another colonization card, which I was happy to see with the plan of starting to seed some colonies. Gutemetralla seeds opens the development of settlement. The additional population might be nice for him with having the plan to go for printing presses. He will take the irrigation, the swordsman, goes for an upgrade to iron, and then increases his population to get out of corruption. And now it is my turn, and I start seeding the next colony into the deck. The event revealed is the development of agriculture, giving me some additional food. And this turn, it's the last turn in H1 very likely, or at least it could be if Gutemetralla decides to just take 1 card. So now I don't have the option to delay the Rome roads even longer, and thanks to the Engineering Genius I can finish it, which is quite nice. And as the event deck might be flipped before my next turn, I made the decision to go for just with the cartography as my last civil action. Of course there could be useful cards like Richland, which could accelerate how quickly I can go for iron. But at the end I just thought developing the cartography is fine, at least I'm still getting 4 additional resources, and ideally I will also win the wealthy territory, which also will help me out with the resources. So I just didn't take any card from the row, and then the next turn maybe I can start going for iron. However, I also need a new leader. If the Code of Laws isn't taken, but I thought maybe it will just be taken away by Gutemetralla, I can maybe also go for that. So I might have a lot of things to do at the next turn, and also with that I think it's just better to get developing the cartography already out of the way. And and I also will reveal the fighting band tactic, just making it that if I need it later on I don't miss out on any H2 draws. Gutemetralla seeds and opens the development of religion. He has a free population to take 1, but I also will have a free population, so that it's fine. And Gutemetralla will then go for a printing press, increases his population, and takes the bread and circuses, which I was a little bit surprised to see. I mean, on one hand, it makes a lot of sense, because there is Pierre in the game, there's Anthony Gaudi in the game, who is already looking quite strong for Gutemetralla, and also Darwin. On the other hand, with taking the bread and circuses, he lets the Code of Laws fall down to 1 civil action for me, which maybe helps me out a little bit. But on the other hand, of course, I can understand it, that the bread and circuses is quite nice to have. With building 1 potential government farm might get even cheaper, and prepares him very nicely for a bunch of leaders. Now it is my turn, and even though I'm weaker, I have the knowledge that 2 out of those cards are colonies, and I just wanted to get the deck moving, get those colonies relatively quickly, and get the benefits out of those colonies. H2 will start. I will push the knowledge of the ancients, which maybe helps Gutemetralla even a bit more than me, because he has not as much science production, but I still was willing to seed it. And then the event revealed is the inhabited territory, and I was happy to see that I'm actually able to win it for just a warrior. So it looks like Gutemetralla has 2 colonization cards, otherwise he would have a bit more. So it is a bit of knowledge that I gain here. And then I am able to win it, which is very nice. However, now I maybe remove one option from me, because before that colony was revealed, I could have potentially just gone for 1 iron upgrade. Now, if I do this, I don't have the necessary resources to build a raw warrior, which I really want to do in order to be prepared to win the wealthy territory. However, even without winning the colony, maybe it would have been better to not go for the iron, because there's one alternative that I think is nice, and it looks maybe a little bit costly at first, but I think it's probably the best thing to do. The problem is I really want to get this Code of Laws, having the ability to upgrade from 5 to 6 civil actions, and also taking the card away from Gutemetralla. I think it's just too important. However, if I take it, then Leonardo will be discarded before my next turn, so either I have to take him for 2, or maybe have to settle on rather going for Isabella or Michelangelo. However, I thought Leonardo can still be quite strong, and there's actually one nice advantage when I just take and elect him already this turn. And the advantage is that now I'm not at 10, but rather at 11 signs at the next turn, which is just the difference that I need to be able to go for the Code of Laws and the Iron at the next turn. So I think the 1 additional signs that Leonardo gives me this turn will actually be quite a boost to my civilization, and thanks to winning the inhabited territory, I can now just build 2 warriors, go up to 4 strength, get out of corruption, and then take the Code of Laws, take the Iron. At the next turn I will be able to develop both of those technologies and start to go for at least 1 upgrade. So I think this turn should be quite nice. I will draw now the refugees. Gutemetralla seeds and opens the immigration, which is a fine event because it helps both of us, giving us an additional population. He will now go for 1 iron upgrade, goes for an upgrade to irrigation as well, builds a warrior going up to 5 strength, making sure that he's not the weakest, indicating that there maybe is a strength event coming, also copying to the fighting band tactic, which will give him 1 additional culture reduction, which costs him some draws though, so it's the question if it's worth it to do so, but I mean over the next turns it will add up, and so no, maybe it's at the end fine to miss out on the draws in order to get this culture. I am now weaker again. Gutemetralla just indicated that maybe there's a strength event coming, and at least I know that there can't be the uncertain borders coming. However, if I am not too much afraid of seeding, the problem is that the events that I have in hand are not really that great to seed. So my first instinct was to just not seed here, but there's one thing that is, I think, quite an argument for seeding, and that is that there's a 50% chance I won't get stronger this turn anyway. But if I seed now, there's a 50% chance that the wealthy territory will be revealed. I don't necessarily need to rebuild the warrior, meaning those additional resources will actually result in 2 additional iron upgrades this turn. So the wealthy territory, you could say, will give me even 8 resources, or maybe even more if I don't get the upgrades going quickly at the following turns, but probably I will then win it soon afterwards. But yeah, it will allow me 2 additional upgrades. With that, it gives me even some additional value, and even though I might get punished by hitting a strength event, I just wanted to have the chance to at least hit the wealthy territory and get some quick economical development. The problem is, of course, which event do I want to seed, and here I went with the refugees, because the advantage is that it maybe takes a little while longer until it will be revealed, and I know that it is coming, meaning I can prepare myself. It's of course tricky to seed it against Jan Žižka, but maybe in this situation Gutemetralla is also not really expecting me to seed such a big strength event into the deck, so it might be a little bit of a surprise for him later, maybe making it a bit easier for me to fight over the event, but it's definitely a bit of a risk, and I think it could also be perfectly fine to just not seed here, but I went for a little bit of a greedy play, and I got lucky, and I actually got rewarded here because I am able to win the wealthy territory 1 again for just 1 warrior, and now I out of the sudden have 9 additional resources lying around, which allows me to go for the Code of Laws, to go for the iron, and then just going for 3 upgrades, and then I have 1 civil action left. Thanks to the additional blue tokens I could even take a card with having 7 food lying around, but I think I didn't have knowledge about the reds. Of course, it's unlikely that the Reds are seeded, with Gutemetralla having gone for food production, but also I think it's nice to already spend one civil action now to increase my population, because there could be some interesting wonders coming, for example the ocean liner service especially, and if that wonder is coming, I want to be prepared to take it even for expensive, and even though taking a breakthrough could be quite nice, there's the knowledge of the ancients coming. I'm now at 6 science production, and Gutemetralla at least only has 4 civil actions, so maybe it's also not that easy for him to take a card. And so I thought it's not too important to take this breakthrough, and instead I just increased my population. I will draw some cards now: the civil unrest, economic progress, and also a war over technology. Gutemetralla seeds opens the reign of terror, so now I get hit by a strength event, get punished for being weaker, and I got a bit lucky that the wealthy territory was revealed before it, because that really gave me a nice boost. Gutemetralla will take the breakthrough, will take the engineering genius, with that also maybe aims to go for one of those strong H2 wonders, and then builds another printing press going up to 6 culture production. Now it is my turn, and this turn I will lose a population. This turn I made a decision to not push, because I might just be weaker, and I also wanted to give myself a little bit of time before the refugees will be revealed, so I think it's important to maybe pause a little bit now with seeding. And as you can see, I made the decision to take Antoni Gaudi here for 2 civil actions. First of all, I think with Bach and Shakespeare lacking, Gaudi is actually quite strong, because it can still be an advantage to have a strong culture leader, and while Gaudi is maybe not as strong as the other just to mention culture leaders, he can still be producing a nice amount of culture. And when we take a look at Gutemetralla civilization here, I think would love to go for Antoni Gaudi, and now that he is gone, there are Robespierre, Maria Theresa, and Darwin left. Darwin could maybe be the most interesting one, but also a bit tricky with having this religion only in H1 happy face solution. Maybe he will go for team sports at the next turn, so I thought maybe going for Antoni Gaudi and removing him from my opponent, but also having him for myself, I think could be quite nice. And I will also elect him already immediately, and he is giving me some nice benefit immediately with allowing me to go for the journalism. I will develop the journalism and build one, which is a bit greedy, because I seeded the refugees. Investing all of those resources might make it a bit more tricky for me to prepare for the refugees, but I think it's just a very, very big benefit. And going up to 6 culture production, 7 science production, and so I at the end decided to still go through with it. I was eyeing the railroad here that is coming down the row. I was hoping that maybe Gutemetralla won't go for it, and then the railroad, I can finish it in 2 turns, and maybe that just might allow me to sneak ahead in the strength, be prepared for the refugees without seeming to be too invested, to get stronger, improving my economy. Maybe I can push the economic progress, and with that I was hoping that maybe I can still in time be stronger for the refugees. And if the railroad is taken by Gutemetralla, at least that makes it that I am completely free to take the ocean liner service if I want to. I was very happy about my next draw, because I do draw the infamous fortifications tactic, and that one is just very strong, especially being in such a situation like right now. That is why it is in 2-player games just such a strong tactic. Often there's not a lot of military build, meaning I now only need to develop the cannons to fulfill it. In the 3 and 4-player games, at least you often need to commit to knights or swordsmen, and then it's not as great, but in 2-player games it's just so nice to have it. And now I felt a lot more comfortable about having seeded those refugees, so I think again I get a bit lucky here. Gutemetralla will now go for the bread and circuses. Doesn't go for the team sports, but developing the bread and circuses will allow him to go for the constitutional monarchy. He had a full hand, which is a bit annoying for him, because otherwise maybe he could have built 1 urban building before developing the conmon, but still nice, and he got a nice discount going, has now even more urban buildings, 5 science production, 7 culture production, and has the constitutional monarchy going. Now it is my turn, and as you can see I will actually start seeding now. And with Gutemetralla not having seeded, there is actually still a bit of room left before the refugees are revealed. And I also wanted the deck to move a little bit forward now, so that hopefully the refugees will be on top on the perfect timing. I indeed made the decision now to go for the railroad, with the ocean liner service not being in sight, and then I should still have enough time hopefully to finish it. And economic progress is also just a nice event with having the railroad. Hopefully I will be able to get a bit more out of it, especially because I have also 1 and 3 additional blue tokens from the wealthy territory, 1 from the Roman roads. So with that, maybe I have even more chances to get a lot of value out of the economic progress together with the railroad. There is now another strength event revealed, the Crusades, which makes it a sadly Gutemetralla has now definitely a bit of a culture lead. I will get my production, but I'm about 20 culture behind, which is a little bit worrying, but 20 culture is also an amount that can be overcome, so no need to panic, but I definitely have to keep an eye on that. And then I will go for the railroad. I can potentially spend 2 civil actions to build 2 stages in it, making it that I have 2 civil actions left, and I use those to take 2 interesting urban buildings for Antoni Gaudi. First of all, the team sports as a happy face solution, which also allows me maybe to go for Pierre in H3, and then the second one being the opera, just allowing me to set up even more culture production with Antoni Gaudi, maybe being prepared for Fleming, and then with the remaining civil actions, now that I have the fortifications tactic, I don't need the cavalryman, and so I just went for the railroad, built 2 stages, not taking the cannons as there's another copy coming. If it's very late, maybe I get punished with not being able to go for the fortifications in time and being prepared for the refugees, but I was hoping that that I will have the chance to go for the cannons in time. Then I will end my turn. I will keep the politics of strength, as it might be an interesting card if I go for a bit of strength. Also the fortifications tactic, of course, and Gutemetralla will this turn go for Darwin, who is a bit problematic with this religion, but is also scoring him 5 additional culture, which is quite strong, might save him some civil actions. He could even take the justice system this turn and develop it, however that would prevent him from maybe going for cannons, cavalryman or something, so if he's a bit worried about the military, then maybe it's better to not go for the justice system. He might still have an option to take it at the next turn. And now it is my turn, and I will, with the event deck not being pushed, I will just continue seeding the politics of strength, which is risky, but now with having drawn the fortifications, I was confident that hopefully I have good chances to maybe fight for some strength events, and so I just seeded it into the deck. The only alternative that would be not a strength event would be the National Pride, which I would just lose at the moment, so I rather gambled a little bit on the politics of strength, hoping that I will have good chances to be stronger, especially because I also have the chance to go for the strategy this turn. Then I will reveal the cultural influence, which now will give Gutemetralla a bit of additional culture. I will finish the railroad, making myself the strongest. Then I have some civil actions left. I definitely want to take the strategy. It helps me a lot with winning the refugees, and I have a lot of science, so I can easily spend some science on it. Don't want to leave it to Gutemetralla, so I will take it. And then there's the question, do I want to develop it already, or do I maybe even just want to keep it in hand, develop it at the next turn, but yeah, with a little bit of additional strength, it's just more likely that I'm prepared for the refugees. And while I could take even more cards, maybe it's also fine to be prepared to maybe again take something like Ocean Liner Service, which could still be an interesting card. And so I made a decision to develop the strategy already, maybe mainly to have even higher chances to hopefully be the strongest for the refugees at my next turn if there's an event pushed. And so I will develop it. Means that I miss out on some interesting cards. Of course, there's the breakthrough, which looks very interesting, but I don't think I can really take it in this situation, because there's an even more important thing that I need to be able to do, and that is to have 10 resources available at the next turn to be able to go for the fortifications tactic. Because if Gutemetralla should decide to maybe build up some strength now, for whatever reason, maybe he has seeded his own strength event, or is just fearing that maybe I have seeded a strength event. Even though I was hoping that with the moment of me having seeded it, maybe it's not looking like it might be one, but I definitely did go a bit got a bit stronger now. Yeah, I was hoping that it isn't too much telling about the event, because it's just also generally useful stuff to do, even if I don't expect any big strength event to come. And so with that I want to be able to build 2 fortifications at the next turn, which is why I either need to take the reserves or the patriotism, and with maybe the intention to build some military anyway. The patriotism could maybe even be the more useful card, allowing me to get an additional draw. However, I went with the reserves here, just giving me a bit of additional flexibility, and maybe also making myself appear not as much focused on the military. It's maybe a little bit of a stupid reason, but if I take the patriotism, there might ring some alarm bells for Gutemetralla, and there is even potentially quite some danger for him. If I draw a war, I could declare it, build 2 cannons if those are revealed before my next turn, reveal the tactic, but I can do this even without a patriotism, so I just wanted to appear a little bit less focused on strength, maybe misleading him into hopefully not fighting too much over the refugees, and maybe not preparing him as nicely for war. So I took the reserves. I could have taken the breakthrough, not developed the strategy, but I have a lot of science, and so at the end I just went with the strategy. Gutemetralla doesn't cede, and instead plays the reserves, increases his population, and sadly he will start building up a little bit of strength. However, with building 1 cannon, he is still a bit weaker than I am, and with that I was hoping that maybe I'm still winning the refugees, especially because he can't that easily get stronger, but I mean he can go for maybe swordsman if I don't anti-age, or cavalryman. I think the rifleman outdoor there, the rifleman also still there, so he might have some ways to get stronger. With this turn, he also lets the ocean liner service stay on this spot for me, and the cannons are right behind it, which will cause some issues for me at my next turn. I will continue sieging, wanting to move forward towards the refugees, with them having committed now to the politics of strength. I thought that I can just follow up with the Cold War, even though it might be potentially more helpful to Gutemetralla than for me, but if I want to go for an H3 government form, then I think the 6 additional signs from the Cold War could also still be very strong. And so I see it, the event revealed is the knowledge of the ancients. That one was missing, it was seeded by me. And as you can see, I make the decision here to go for the ocean liner service, which is maybe not strictly necessary. I have the irrigation in hand, there's the selective breeding in a row. With the economic progress coming, those food solutions are maybe even a bit preferable over the ocean liner service. So the reason why I go for the ocean liner service in this situation is definitely motivated a bit by denying it. Because I think I could be perfectly fine with going for the selective breeding, then I may be even not forced to take the cannons this turn, which now will be quite annoying, because either I take them and then I can't do anything else, they can't develop the irrigation to maybe have a nice way to fix famine issues later on, I can't do anything else, but I also can't really allow myself to have the cannons be discarded, so I need to take them now. And I could have may have had it different if I would have gone for the selective breeding, but I think Gutemetralla, with only having those irrigations, is a little bit stuck at the moment, doesn't really get a lot of food production going. Maybe he can somehow build an additional farm, but it will at the moment require him to disband some stuff. Maybe he will get even hit by the refugees, hopefully, meaning that then he has even 1 population less. And with this I was hoping that this is actually quite a bit hurtful to not have the chance to go for the ocean liner service, especially with having the engineering genius. He could have just taken and finished the ocean liner service, which I think would have been very strong, and so I wanted to deny this option, and with 2 remaining civil actions I said I kinda need to take the cannons. I was a bit worried that maybe Gutemetralla will now get stronger, which would be a bit annoying, because sadly I am missing 1 resource in order to be able to finish the ocean liner service at my next turn and still build 2 cannons, so I might have to delay the ocean liner service, then it will be quite late, but I think the additional population might still be helpful, and at the end, with being that strong for Gutemetralla, I made a decision to still go for it. And then I will draw some cards. Now I have a war available, so if Gutemetralla is not careful, I could also still go for a war at the next turn. H3 starts, I will sadly lose the irrigation, Gutemetralla will lose the swordsman, Gutemetralla will take the opera. I was hoping that it maybe means he will go for a bit of culture production, doesn't care about the refugees that he of course has no knowledge about, but sadly he is building a farm and he is then developing the cavalryman, disbanding a warrior, building a cavalryman, taking the breakthrough, and with that going up to 15 strength with revealing the mobile artillery tactic. And with that I was a bit worried, because now I sadly have to delay the ocean liner service. Me now getting stronger instead of finishing the ocean liner service is definitely a big hint that there is actually a strength event coming, and that is of course the risk with having seeded the refugees. But hopefully I might still have chances to win the strength, the refugees, but me having to delay the ocean liner service now would have been definitely better for me if Gutemetralla just would have focused on culture, and then I could have just won the refugees and then get the ocean liner service going. So this turn I kinda have to delay the ocean liner service if I still want the refugees, and I think the refugees is an important event. I think an additional population makes quite a difference, and then there's also the culture swing on top of it. I think I definitely want to have the architecture here because I have a lot of science to spend. I can take it and then finish the ocean liner service with it. It basically doesn't cost me any civil actions, and then I still have the potential to build a lot of cheap urban buildings with those H2 urban buildings that I have in hand. Then of course I want to get stronger. I will increase my population. I will build 2 cannons and reveal the tactic going up to 21 strength. And the problem is that there is this military theory on the row. Gutemetralla has a lot of science, has just taken the breakthrough, and he at his next turn could just take and develop the military theory. Now that he sees that I will put some effort into getting stronger, maybe he is willing to fight over this event, will go for the military theory, develops it, and he could just disband a warrior, maybe build a cannon, and that alone would already be enough to make him stronger again, so it wouldn't be even that much of a payment. And no, so even though it is quite painful, I at the end actually made the decision to take the military theory away, which is quite expensive as it isn't really that useful for myself with having the strategy. At least it maybe also denies Gutemetralla some potential military options with not having the option to go now for a lot of military actions. And yeah, I at the end just thought I want to make it more difficult for Gutemetralla to fight over the strength event, which of course again can be a hint for him that he should really fight over those strength events, but now he needs to destroy something, needs to disband a warrior, miss out on a lot of draws, and maybe at the end with not knowing for certain what is coming, he might be hesitant to do it. And yeah, but I was definitely a bit worried that we now will be stuck at a bit of a strength race, because if he indeed is willing to commit a lot into the military, I at the next turn can't that easily follow up. I have 1 warrior that I can disband, but apart from this, I maybe can go for team sports, disband a religion or something, so I might have some ways, but I delay the ocean liner service even more, and I was very worried about all of this. And then with the last civil action, I just played the reserves for resources. Maybe I could have let myself the option to play it for food, allowing myself to go for the team sports and then have free population in order to build a cannon and then just disband a warrior, build a cannon. I think that could be quite nice, but at the end I just played it for the resource already. Maybe I also could have just played the architecture instead. I think that might have been fine as well. But in the end I went with the reserves, but I'm not sure about this. I think maybe just developing the architecture could actually also be the better move at the end. So yeah, that was this turn, and now I was quite worried, because if we are indeed stuck at a bit of a race over the refugees, I can't really start catching up. I will delay my ocean liner service, and I was worried that the game is going to the wrong direction, because if it in the end just decide to ignore the refugees, it's a culture swing. I have an even bigger gap to overcome. So I now was very interested what Gutemetralla will do. Will he really go all in and fight over the event that he doesn't have knowledge about, or will he just ignore it and start building up some culture? I will draw the impact of balance, which with my low food production maybe is not an ideal event, at least at the moment. I was a bit unhappy to see the fundamentalism revealed, because it might give Gutemetralla an easy option for him to get a bit of additional strength going. Would also be a commitment, because it reduces the science production, it prevents him maybe from going for the democracy, so it is a big cost, and he doesn't know about the event. And with that, he, as you can see, won't fight for the refugees, and I was very happy to see it, because of course, it's also nice for him to get some culture production going, but now I can win the refugees, start finishing the ocean liner service. I even have enough resource to finish the ocean liner service and build an opera if I want to, increasing my culture production as well, and then I maybe also have the chance to win those other strength events that are coming. So I was a bit relieved, but of course it would have been quite costly for Gutemetralla to fight over it. Maybe that wouldn't even be worth it for him, even with having the knowledge, but I was still quite happy to have the chance now to win the refugees. Also, he is taking the modern infantry away, making it that I definitely have no infantry technology available. And now, of course, I want to see it. However, maybe I don't have the perfect event. However, there's one event I think that's perfectly fine to see it, and maybe even good, and that is the popularization of science. At the moment, it would give me 1 more culture, and I might even have the chance to build more journalisms. And so I will see the popularization of science, and was very happy to be able to win the refugees now. So I gain an additional population. I will now finally finish the ocean liner service, get another another additional population. And then, as said, I can even build an opera, which I will do, increasing my culture production by 4, using Antoni Gaudi. I could have also seeded the iconoclasm, but Gaudi, I think, is still doing a lot of work for me. If I develop the team sports and get my happy face solution, he's producing me 5 culture, the same as Darwin, and is still giving me a lot of discount when developing those techs. So I didn't want to put the iconoclasm into the deck instead of the popularization of science. And then I have 1 civil action left, which I will use to take the fundamentalism, just making myself a bit safer, but also maybe allowing myself to apply a little bit of pressure on Gutemetralla, who doesn't have the most population, especially now. I mean, he has a fine amount. He has a lot of urban buildings, actually, but he doesn't get a lot of new free population. Has to lose 1 now with the refugees, and so maybe it will be a bit awkward for him, and he has to be a bit more careful with me having fundamentalism in hand, having the refugees, so the fortifications. So I wanted to have this fundamentalism. That could mean that the movies will be discarded, especially if I should get Fleming. It could be an interesting card to get, and 1 is discarded now, 1 might be taken away, but I was hoping that it's maybe also not too important to have it. I draw 2 impacts, 2 new ones, and I was quite happy to see those. The impact of Wonders is just a good impact, and the impact of Harmony I maybe have some potential to make good, if I just build some warriors at the end or something like this. Gutemetralla will now take the reserves, get some additional resources, takes the air forces, he can take it for 1 civil action thanks to Darwin, and the military build-up. So maybe he's planning to build some more military, or he's just indeed a little bit afraid of what I'm planning. If he leaves those cards to me, maybe I could find a way to go for fundamentalism, gain some additional resources, be a bit threatening. If I get the tanks, maybe I have the mechanized army tactic. There could get a little bit dangerous, and so maybe it's just making sure to be a bit safe. At the moment he's still having the culture lead, he doesn't have a free population, maybe he can't do a lot else anyway, and so he just takes all of those cards. And now it is my turn. As you can see, I will start with seeding the impact of Wonders. I really want to seed with those strength events coming, and the impact of Wonders is just a very safe and good event for me. And the economic progress is revealed, which is not ideal with having the ocean liner service, but it still gives me 6 additional resources thanks to my additional blue tokens and the additional production from the railroad. So I think the economic progress here is quite strong for me, and I have now a lot of additional resources to work with. I will increase my population, go for the team sports. I will actually build an additional journalism, because maybe the science could still be useful if I should end up going for the space flight and maybe have the chance to develop some more technologies, maybe go for the democracy or something, or the fundamentalism in case I need the strength. And also there's the popularization of science coming, so building the journalism might also give me 2 additional cultures, so I don't miss out on that much culture from the more production that I would get from the opera. So I think the journalism is a very nice thing to build here. With that I have 3 civil actions left. And at the end, I actually went with taking the Engineering Genius and the movies, which is a bit of an interesting pick. But I was hoping that maybe I have the chance to either go for the United Nations, which will actually just draw me 20 culture thanks to having all of those different urban buildings. And if I don't get the United Nations, then hopefully I will get the space flight. And for both of those wonders, the Engineering Genius will just be very helpful, allowing me maybe to just build an additional urban building while still being able to finish the wonder. And then I wanted to have the movies because Fleming might potentially be my leader. Gutemetralla might prefer to have Pierre if he gets the chance to take him, then Fleming might be left for me, and movies are just a cheap technology in case I get the space flight, and allows me to even produce more culture. I could have taken the Revolutionary here, but I think I have enough science, especially with the Cold War coming. And one thing is, of course, that the Air Forces will be discarded. So I'm showing to Gutemetralla that maybe he doesn't have to be too worried, but I could still go for the fundamentalism, go for another army, so he still has to be a bit careful. And I don't have to be that careful, because I've taken the fundamentalism and the military theory away, so Gutemetralla doesn't really have a nice way to be very threatening with the war or something. Also no patriotism in hand, so I don't think I needed to defend myself. I'm maybe looking now a little bit less threatening, but maybe still a bit threatening, so that Gutemetralla can't just go all in culture production. Then I draw some new cards. The Impact of Industry is a fine one, with me having 2 additional production. Also I have 2 wars in hand now in case I want to go for 1. Gutemetralla will go for the United Nations. It's also a very fine wonder for him. If he builds religion at some point, it also scores him 20 culture. And maybe there's even the chance to, at the next turn, finish it and then go for the Red Cross, which could be interesting because I'm at the moment stuck at 2 food. But Gutemetralla for now is increasing his population, so maybe he doesn't have this plan. It also would take a lot of civil actions, so maybe would prevent him from doing some other stuff. So no, I think it's maybe fine to not go for this. Maybe with the reserves he could still do it, with me being low on food, but it would definitely be a bit costly. He lets the space flight stay in the 2 civil action area for me, so I have to maybe pay now for it if I want it. I will see the impact of harmony, which could be a bit risky, because my plan was to maybe at the end build some warriors or something to make it quite big. But it might be revealed too early, but even at the moment it is already quite decent with being at +4, so it just looks better than the impact of industry, and so I decided to seed it already, but there's the chance that it is revealed too early and that I might miss out on some culture because of it. The event revealed is the politics of strength, giving me 5 additional draws, which is quite nice. The impact of technology could be quite strong. However, at the end, maybe I will actually miss the civil actions to make it really big, because I have a lot of science, especially with the Cold War coming, but maybe the civil actions will be the problem to make it really big, but it definitely might be a seedable event. Maybe I will be able to get 1, maybe even 2 more techs, so I was quite happy to see it. And with those impacts coming, wonders, harmony, now technology, maybe industry, and with me having at least 1 more draw, I was hoping that even though there is still a bit of a culture gap, it's definitely is not. I already closed it a little bit with getting the culture for seeding. Gutemetralla seems to not have found a nice impact for him right now, until now, and so I'm only 11 culture behind him at the end of my turn, or maybe I think I will even build an additional urban building. Definitely I will take the space flight, and then with my last civil action I can build 1 urban building. I think I could of course build a warrior or a cannon, get out of corruption, take a card like endowment, but I'm already struggling a little bit with my civil action, so I think it's better to just build an urban building now, increase my culture reduction, get out of corruption like this. First I thought I want to build another journalism, because there are still the popularization of science coming, but the thing is I have 3 more turns. Probably I don't need any more science, and the opera is still, even if the popularization of science is revealed, and it will probably be revealed, still giving me 1 additional culture, and with me not needing the science, but maybe needing the happy face, I thought the opera is probably the better choice. Maybe I could have already built an opera instead of a journalism the turn before, but I thought maybe at this point the science could still be useful, but now I made a decision to go for the opera. Fleming is coming down the road. There could also still be Pierre revealed. It's maybe a bit unlucky for Gutemetralla that he's so late, but on the other hand, Darwin is also really doing a lot of work for him, but now he might have the last chance to go for the Olympic Games. I draw again some impacts, so I have definitely seen a lot of impacts this game. Impact of agriculture is not that great, so it's good that Gutemetralla doesn't have it. Impact of population is actually not that great even for me, because Gutemetralla also managed to get a lot of additional population out, but it's seedable. And then there's the impact of colonies, which I was happy to see because it gives me +6 against Gutemetralla. Then Gutemetralla this turn will finish the United Nations, blaze the wave of nationalism, will go for the democracy. With that he will overtake me in culture reduction, or at least tie me in culture reduction. At his turn he wins the tiebreaker, and that allows him to, after finishing the United Nations, actually evaluate the impact of culture for 10 points, so that's definitely not bad for him. And so the United Nations might have given him 26 culture now, which is very decent for a wonder. Then he goes for the civil service, maybe being better prepared for something like impact of government and progress, which he might be potentially fearing from me, especially impact of progress. And I also would have liked to get the civil service, just another technology that I can easily implement, hopefully. Gutemetralla didn't have the chance to go for Pierre, he is very late. And also didn't want to take Fleming, so now this turn I have the chance to take Fleming. I will continue seeding the impact of colonies into the deck. The event revealed is the Cold War, so still no journalisms revealed, which at the end changed my option by a little bit, actually, because my original plan was to go for the fundamentalism this turn. But if I go for it now, I will miss out on 2 culture from the popularization of science, and that will actually change my turn a little bit, because I thought that now it would be nice to have the additional civil action from already developing in this turn, but very likely the additional civil action will only give me 1 additional point instead of 2, so I will not develop the fundamentalism yet to keep the 2 additional science production for the popularization of science. I will develop the movies with the discount of Antoni Gaudi. I will build one, increasing my culture production by quite a bit. I definitely want to have more culture production in Gutemetralla so that he can't see the impact of culture again, but it should be very manageable with me now going for Fleming. And then I have 3 civil actions left, and I will just take the reserves and the urban growth. And with the reserves I have enough resources to, at the next turn, build 2 warriors for the impact of harmony. And then also I can, with the reserves I can play for food so that I then don't have to build a farm. I don't necessarily want to disband anything. And then I can finish the space flights. I have enough resources thanks to the engineering genius to build 2 warriors. And originally I could have used the urban growth to go for one more upgrade here, but it only gives me 1 additional culture, and so I rather didn't develop the fundamentalism. However, I'm not sure if I actually need to take the urban growth then here. Maybe I could have just developed the military theory already and have with that and built maybe 3 stages of the space flight. I think that might actually be an oversight here. Yeah, I in the end went with the urban growth, maybe making me a bit flexible, just maybe in case Gutemetralla goes really all in on producing a lot of culture, but then I can just follow up, so I'm not sure if that is the way to go for him, but maybe I could have played it differently here, because I don't really need the urban growth now, and could have just already saved some civil actions. Draw again more impacts, so I have a lot of impact knowledge, impact of happiness, and impact of competition are drawn. Gutemetralla has another impact. Probably it's not the impact of culture. I can check that at my turn with Fleming, so it's probably a different one. The popularization of science is revealed, giving me 3 additional points, and he will this turn go for the civil service, disband some stuff, build some additional military, interestingly. Maybe he doesn't want to give me an easy impact of strength, or maybe he has potentially sneaked an impact of strength in the deck himself. Who knows? Could be a bit of an interesting move. And then he goes for Pierre. Got maybe a bit unlucky that Pierre is so late, so that he couldn't make use out of the Olympic Games. Now it's my turn. I can use Fleming to take a look at the 1 card, but it gives me the knowledge that it is actually the impact of culture, of course, that he has in hand, so he has seeded something different. And this turn I will go for the impact of tech. I could have also gone for the impact of industry. I think then I could have also gone for the 1 upgrade, but the impact of industry would give me +2, but now if I miss out on the upgrade and instead go for an additional tech, then the impact of tech will give me +4 instead, and that's basically +2 if the upgrade would only be +1, so I seeded the impact of tech, which is a bit risky, because there might be the impact of harmony revealed, which would mean that I miss out on 8 points. Maybe I could do then a little bit of different stuff, but I would definitely bad to get hit by it, and so I was happy to see that it is not revealed. Impact of wonders will also improve, but only by a little bit during my turn. I will then use the ocean liner service, play the reserves for food to not have any famine, develop the fundamentalism, develop the military theory, take and develop the bro sports, build 2 warriors for the impact of harmony, and then I still have enough resources left to finish the space flight for 26 points. And yeah, with that I will get also not I have got some nice points, and then I will get another 22 with my last culture production, meaning that I will end my turn with 8 being 8 culture ahead to Gutemetralla. I have knowledge about 3 good impacts from me, so I at this point was quite confident that I should have good chances to win this game. And then I will reveal, or there will be the impact of colonies, giving me +6. There's the impact of harmony, which Gutemetralla also improved by a bit with going for more military, so it was not only for the impact of strength, also for something like harmony. He improved his civilization. There is actually the impact of progress, which was seeded by Gutemetralla. It gave him +1 point for seeding it. And then there is at the end the impact of technology, which gives me +4 against Gutemetralla, and with that at the end I'm able to win this game. And I think this game just went relatively smoothly for me. I the beginning had Aristotle, managed to score some science with him, got the monarchy, I had then the nice chance to go for some colonies, got them relatively cheaply. Winning the wealthy territory really accelerated my building up my economy, so I think that was quite strong, and I got also a bit lucky for it being revealed before the Reign of Terror. And then I just gambled a bit with the refugees, went for the railroad, had a chance to go for the ocean liner service, which was actually a bit costly for me, but I wanted to deny it from Gutemetralla. And then at the beginning of H3, I was actually a bit worried with this refugees and potentially me having to fight over it, meaning that I can't really catch up in culture. But at the end, Gutemetralla, with me taking the military theory, where he was maybe not willing to fight over the potential strength event any longer, and with that, I was able to win it. And thanks to me drawing a lot of impacts, I had a politics of strength, but I definitely have seen a lot of them, so was definitely a bit lucky there, and that allowed me to even have a little bit of a lead at the end. And yeah, but overall, I think this game went relatively smoothly for me, and I just got a bit lucky in the right situations, and then at the end managed to utilize that. And yeah, but also nicely played by Gutemetralla. I think with a bit less nice impacts drawn, it's very quickly can get a bit closer. If there maybe would have been an impact that would have been better for impact than impact of progress for Gutemetralla, it also can quickly get closer. So a close game. And no, I hope it was an interesting one for you. We can also take a look at the current standings at the moment. I don't think that has changed a lot, but we can take a look at it. And as you can see, there are some players that have already 4 games finished now. Benny Shadow, after having winning 2 times in the seasons before, he still has a nice season going. Has 3 wins and 1 loss, is at 6 points. The best it's still going for Ben, who also defeated me in the first game that you saw from this tournament, is at 6 points. LCF Wakes also is not looking bad, the same as is true for Saru. Marta Bashir has maybe not the greatest start, but a fine start, and I, with having now a win, also maybe have a bit more breathing room to not be forced to win all of the remaining games in order to stay in the league. So I think that was an important victory for me. For Payada, it's not going that well so far. So those are the standings. And with that, I hope it was an interesting game for you to watch. The Royal League games at the moment are basically, apart from the international championship games, which you can see on Epogi's channel. And there are not that many games finishing, so I showed another Royal League game. So now the 2-player fans have maybe the chance to get a little bit of content, but soon there will be the Intermezzo Championship season starting, then there will be a bit more content for the 3-player fans, and then it probably takes still a little while until I join again in the World Championship, but that's also not in the too distant future. So now, with that, I hope it was an interesting video for you. Thanks for watching, and then see you in the next video.